Just time for Christmas, the final worst repair that we've got to fix. Let's see what we're going to do next. Welcome back to the Big Golf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is where we talk about golf club repairs, golf club fittings, golf club opinions or reviews, all so your scores can go low. Now, this is probably the third, we'll call it the worst repair category, and what I'm doing is I'm fixing other people's attempts at doing golf club repair. Okay, now I'm never ever going to bang anybody for doing a poor repair, because mostly folks are just uninformed, and that's just what it is. Now, there are some people out there that go out of their way and intentionally really do they have what they have, they know what's wrong, and they still put it together. That was on the very first one I did, where a person just put a whole bunch of glue into a driver. Yeah, it was bad. All right, this one, a golfer who belonged to a golf club wanted some shafts redone and gave it to the club, and this is what they got back. All right, so what we have is an Oban Kiyoshi 65 gram S, I'm going to guess it's an S Flex, going into a Rogue fairway wood, and it is I almost think that this tip might be broken the way that it's sitting in here. Some's cocked about it. There's a tremendous gap between the ferrule, and there's all kinds of glue that's on this thing from when they put it in there. And I'm not even so certain that they use the right kind of glue. So this is going to be kind of problematic. Now, the other one is that we have some Oban steel shafts, and the Oban steel shafts are going into some TaylorMade 790s. Good combination. Really, it's a good combination. And to the point that they've been the shafts have been pured by True Spec, and there's no alignment on these things whatsoever. So we're going to try that out. And whoever put these together, again, didn't get anything very close. There's a whole bunch of globs of glue. There's nothing professional about this. Now, okay. However, what we also did, if you've seen, is that there's at least 3 different kinds of ferrules. There's a short ferrule, there's a medium ferrule, and there's a long ferrule. And none of them are set tight. There's all kinds of glue on them. And none of them are aligned, and they're all gross. So we're going to fix them, right? We're just going to fix them, and we're going to put them back together. The golfers asked for it. I'm looking at a ½ inch of snow on the ground. However, this weekend is supposed to get into the 60s. So all this is going to be out. It's going to be a tremendous mess, but the golfer wants to get out in it, so we're going to help him do it. So let's go try and take these things apart, and let's fix this worst repair. And this is, oh, by the way, this is the last boxes to builds coming into 2022, and I made 24. That was my goal, was get 24 of these things. The other part is, look, we have a live stream on Mondays, 5:30 Eastern Time, 17:30 for you guys that are using 24-hour clocks. And we talk about the same stuff: golf club repairs, golf club fittings, golf club reviews or opinions, a couple other topics. We talk with folks around the world. It's a really good time. Join us for an hour and a half, depending on how the questions go, right? And just join us there. And we're on either Facebook or on YouTube. So have fun. Now, let's go fix some golf clubs. All right, as you can see, we got a lot of work going on in the bench. We just finished another assembly project, and I'm just driving right into the next one, and because it's a time-sensitive kind of thing. So the one that's got me the most nervous is the fairway wood. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this jokey ferrule that we got here. And we do that by applying a little bit of heat. I'm just going to take this thing off. Now we don't want to put too much heat on this thing because we don't want to damage the shaft. All right. So there we go. And we want to pull down and away a little bit. See if we can get this guy to break loose. There we go. And if that don't work, we just cut it and pull it. You can do that with a really nice sharp club. All right, so what we see is that this thing's been reshafted. There's a whole lot of abrasion up in this area. Now that could be done with some sandpaper that was trying to abrade down in here, and it was just too wide. Now there's some evidence of like a glue ring where that might have been the end of the original ferrule. I don't know yet. We got to pull this apart. I also have a sneaking suspicion that the inside of this ferrule wasn't cleaned out, so let's find out. All right, I got a minute on this. This ought to be a real trick. Let's see what we find out. Nope, pulled that thing clean out. And there it is. Okay. Well, I don't know what kind of glue we used, but it wasn't very good, and the guy probably wouldn't have been able to use it for very long. So, first things first, we got to clean up all this stuff. All right. So you can see, Jim, why aren't you using your sander to make all this go away? And I could, but you'd have to use a very, very light touch. And there's always that chance you can lean into it and take a little bit more off. And we don't know what the size is right now. So using a knife to just scrape it is pretty much the best way to go without really doing too much to the shaft. All right, so we got that. It's not completely clean, but we're getting really, really close. And now, I wish you could see the inside of this thing. It's literally filled right to here, which is about two-thirds of this hosel. So I'm gonna go around the corner. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drill some of this out. I'm gonna clean it out with a hosel brush, and then we'll try and fix up some of this. Matter of fact, this is the dangerous part right here. Might have to use a little bit of acetone. We'll see. So give me just a moment. I've taken a whole bunch of stuff out of the bottom. It looks like there's a tip weight in the bottom. So we're going to throw a little heat in there. This heat will actually be good for the glue on the outside to become malleable, and we'll be able to get rid of a lot of it. But it's right there. Wow. Okay. That's not nearly far enough. So there is a weight in here. Alrighty, we gotta get a weight out. Alright. After quite a bit of work, I was able to drill it out, and yes, there was a tip weight in the bottom. In fact, I think there's probably just a hair in there, but it is super duper more clean than it once was. And if you remember that we were only able to get like right here, right, when I first did it, now we're all the way in. But now look at this. That is not good. So now that takes me into, well, we've got to measure. What do we truly have? Remember I told you about taking off too much up here? This is a 335 shaft inlet, and we do that. And look at that guy moving around. So it's way less than 335. The other part to this is that that's a 350 shaft, and that's what fits in there perfect. So we've got to go from something that's a little bit less than what would be normal standard 335 shaft and put in a 350. So how do we do that? There's a couple ways. Number one, and this is what we're going to use this time, is this bit of an adapter. So this is a shim of sorts that already has a ferrule on it. Now why do I want to use that? There's a couple of reasons. Number one, this thing has a shoulder in it, and what we need is something with a shoulder, and a fairly deep shoulder. The only thing I've got from a 335 that will get in there, because I don't have a Callaway fitting or a ferrule, and that moves around, and I would have to use that. Plus, I would have to use a shim, and this is to take me from 335 to 350. So there's all kinds of gluing to be done with the second model, and this ferrule isn't as good, where this is a uniform support all the way down for that shaft. So that's the reason why we're going with that one. All right, so we got that one figured out. Now we got to take apart the other clubs. Now this one, based on the glue that was used in this one, the glue that's in here really isn't that strong, or shouldn't be. Let's find out. All right, let's see if I'm lucky. Oh, and I'm not. Uh-oh. This could be problematic. Let's take this guy off first now. All right, we'll take this guy off. Well, that came out pretty easy. You see all that extra right there? It's just, that's over the edge of the hosel. All right, let's get it a little bit hotter now. All right, let's see if I get lucky now. Uh-oh. Oh, this could be a problem. If you use JB weld, we are in trouble. All right, so I'm going to give it a little bit more heat again, and we're going to use my shaft puller. So let's do this. Give it another set of heat. All right, let's see if we can make this work. Oh, good. All right, so let's clean this stuff up, make it look better. So just so you can see, we're going to start, it's going to look like this. And hopefully that's nice and clear. There, that's what it's going to look like. And we're going to see if we can't make it look better. So now this is what it looks like now. Got a little bit shinier, everything's a lot cleaner. And we're right there. Now the grooves need clean, but that was beforehand. So, but we got it looking good now. Now on to the other ones. So we cleaned them all up, we've got them all lined up. We're starting with the 6 and we're going down to the pitching wedge. We got our shafts lined out. We're ready for this fairway wood now that we've got everything lined out and we talked about it. Way to go, Jim. And now we got to glue them together. Before doing that, we're putting on these BB&F ferrules. BB&F ferrule makes a really good hard ferrule. I really like them, except for that the inside diameter is a little bit too small. And so I'm always drilling them out. So I used a 3/8 inch drill and I drilled them out. And I'm probably still going to get a little bit of pushback on these, but I'll be able to make that happen. All right, since we're in kind of a hurry with this one, we're going to use the 3M 810 DP or D-pin we're going to use the DP 810 Black. This is the tour glue. The stuff dries really, really fast, so you don't want to put a whole bunch in making like you see over here. That was with my 420, which I was doing a lot. I did a lot with this. So this one needs to be a little bit smaller. We're going to stir it up really fast, put on the quick center really quick, and we're going to probably get about 3 of these done before we go to the next 3. So we're going to make just enough. That'd be enough to do 3. Probably more than enough, but we'll go with that. And it's got to go fast, so here we go. Okay, we're going to tackle the fairway first. In this particular instance, since we're using the adapter, I'm going to put a little bit inside here. Get that spread out with the, there you go, you can see the inside of it. Alrighty. Then we're going to get the shaft taken care of. There we go. A little bit more on that one. I always get a little bit worried I never get enough glue spread around, but there we go with that. And then we get this guy in there. And that's where we go with it. Now we got to tap it down, make sure it's seated. Alright, a lot more solid than it was before. We want to wipe off all the excess glue this time. Alright. Now we're going to do a quick inspection, make sure that got in there good. Can never wipe this off enough. There we go. Now we got it. It's covered up most of the stuff. The abrasion from the shaft is still going to be there, but I can't fix that. Alright, we're going to tape it so that it doesn't ferrule creep and up onto the rack. Well, it doesn't. It's hard to move glue when you got it covered, isn't it? Okay, so here we go. Starting with the pitching wedge. If I get 2 done, I'll be surprised as I wasted time. Alright, we got that. See how it's just in there? We got to get that thing seated all the way. Maybe I will get lucky. And we got pushed in there pretty good. Let's make sure it's the right length. Oh no, we got 1/4 of an inch to go. So I need some heat. Alright, got a little bit of that. Push her down. There, I got it that time. And I got to move quick because this stuff dries very, very fast. You can see it already starting to get gooey. Alright, now I spin around. Now what we got to do is let's line this up for him a little bit. That's about as good as it gets, assuming that T is the right one. Wipe off the excess on this guy, which there was quite a bit apparently. And up in here. There. Looks a little bit better done now, don't it? A little bit of tape for the same reason. Alrighty, we're going to set this one right here. Oh, let's make sure again it didn't move. And it did. There we go. See if we can get a 3rd one. Looks like we might be able to get to it. Push this guy in there. Oh, got that time. Alrighty. A little bit of more glue in there. There we go. Make sure it's in there. Yep, we got plenty in there. Take a little bit more. And line it up best we can. There we go. And get all that excess off. Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. And this. Oh. Oh, there's something weird there. There we go. All right, so this one's already getting too gooey for me to use, so we're going to put a little bit more down. Okay, the reason why I pounded on there is so you hear a change in sound. And when you hear the change of sound, to me that means that the shaft's bottoming into the bottom of the hosel, and that's really what we want, is for that thing to be seated. So we get this thing lined up, and they're good. Another piece of tape. All right. All right. Whew. So when working with a DP810, speed is of the essence because the stuff dries. You only get about 3, maybe 4 clubs done before you have to move on. It gets all jelly-like. That's called the gel time. And so I got them all done. They're all drying, and here in a little bit, and then we can finish the ferrules and put on the new grips and make them look way better than when they came in. So give me a few, and then we'll talk about that again. All right, I got the glue dry. The super glue is working, and now we have to finish the ferrules. I'm kind of a finishing ferrule freak, and this is what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be using it against the 1x42 sanding unit running around 1750, 1800 RPM. And instead of the linen belt, which I have a few up here, I use the felt belt, because the linen belt, when the idler pulleys were curved to keep them on track, the ends would tend to come up and they would cut the paint and the graphite. Now that's the reason why you always see me using tape. In this particular instance, I'm not going to, because we have felt. Now the felt used to be blue, now it's black. I believe it's just a slightly different material, but it doesn't cut into the paint, and that's always the beauty of all this. Now the other side of this tends to wear a little bit more than the linen, and so you have to buy a few more of those. But the trade-off for me is there all day. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to rest it on this rest. That's what they call it. It's a rest, and I'm going to push it into the felt belt until I get to the shape that I want. And I'm looking for a transition so when I go like this, that I don't feel any edges. So that's what we're going to do. Let's get going. Okay, we're going to turn on the fan and we're going to let you listen to some music. So when you got a new felt belt, it eats a lot of the material, and it doesn't take a whole lot of spins in order to make it get in there. But the idea is to make it nice and the transition to be 0. And you saw me walk away with the 1 because a little bit of glue got underneath of there, and sometimes it tends to pattywampus the ferrule, or you just get that, it's like a glue booger. And I just basically flick the booger, yeah, I said booger, off with a knife in order to make it smooth, and then come back and get it again. Now let's make them shiny. All right, in order to make these things shiny, it's a 2-step process. 1, we use acetone, and acetone goes on some of the paper towels, and we just get it nice and wet to the soaking side. I do it on both sides. And I want to use I'll have 4 towels, and I'll split them in half if I'm doing a large group of them. So we'll just need about 2 of these for this time frame. And all we're doing is we're going 90 degrees to the way that we were turning it before. And that takes out a lot of any of the imperfections that you may have given it with the belt. So we go back and forth. And since we're only doing a couple and it doesn't take very long, we're not going to use any music. 3. And when you turn them like this, the cool part is that you get to see the symmetry of the club and whether or not you're getting everything too. Whether you might see another nick in the club or something that might need your attention later. All right, here's the last one. Unfortunately, I couldn't get this one to look a whole lot better, but at least it's connected now as opposed to not being there. All right, so now you got all this, and really with the BB&Fs, they don't leave a whole lot behind, but the one that went into the 3-wood does. So that's all you need. Now you want to give them a rest, a minute or two, just so that the plastic can, not be really soft, because what'll happen is the next step, if you just go right to it, it'll just carve out a big piece of that. And what am I doing? I'm going to an unstitched buffing wheel, and it's got a yellow polish on it. And the yellow polish is this. All right, it's from Minzerna, and it's GW16. I get it from Grizzly, and it's called Yellow Fine Polishing Compound. And it used to be called Glanswatch, W-A-C-H, same thing. All right, so I got it on here, another one of my belts, again going around 1700 RPM. And what we're trying to do here is just, we're going to go now 90 degrees again from where it is. The idea is to polish this up, get it like a brand new car kind of thing, and then we go and put some grips on. Now that we're at the end of it, the last bit is to wipe off all of what you've done, and that way you can get an idea of whether or not you need to go back and do something else. Unfortunately, I had to do that in about 2 sets ago, and I had to wrestle with nothing more than a ferrule, because it either slid or I took too big of a bite or something, so my pitching wedge in this particular set got got taken apart at least 3 times. Alrighty, so we just use this as an example. We'll just use the last one. So we get it all nice and there we go. All right, nice and even, looks pretty good. Neat looking ferrule. It's going to go with the blue grips. I think we're in pretty good shape. And we got this. I mean, it's still ugly, but it's significantly better in the fact that it's actually connected now. So, there we go. So let's put some grips on them and call it done. You saw the ferrules getting done, and they were already cut to length. What I did at the very end is that the butt-end sections look pretty sloppy. It could have been from rust, it could have been from a few other things. So I rounded them off, made sure they were nice and flat, so that when Miss McGolf went to put on the grips, that there wouldn't be any jagged edges and things like that. Now, Miss McGolf put on the grips, which were the MCC 4 Plus blues from Golf Pride, and they went on very well. They did very nice. And then I did a quick spec on them, and they were all pretty close, save one club, but they're all, pretty close. We bent them to 1 degree flat as requested, told them what the flex was, and we are ready to go. So as we look at it, this is what we get at the beginning and for this world's worst repair. Now again, while you're watching this, I don't hold anything. Anybody wants to give something a shot, that's fine. Do research about it. Let the person know this might be the first time that you're going to do that, or that there's an experience level that's being missed. And that's okay. That is very much okay. However, if you take on a job and you hand it to you, can you do this? Sure, got it in the bag, no problem, blah, blah, blah. And you end up with something that we just ended up with, that is not very good, right? No, you shouldn't do it. All right, and because it gets worked on a second time, and that's the rule, right? You always have time to do it right, and now we're doing it right. So anyway, if you get into stuff like this and you got any questions, put them in the show notes below. If you get somewhere out of your depth, just give us an email, and maybe we can help you through it, or you can send them and we can help you out with that. All right, again, this was the last boxes to builds for 2022, and it comes in with the world's worst repair, so it's a twofer. And it was really fun to do a lot of these builds. Hopefully you got to learn something. Again, if you see something on here, a topic that we have not covered, how about you put it in the show notes and we'll look for it in 2023. Okay guys, don't forget our live streams at 5:30 Eastern time on this channel on Mondays. And if you got any questions, again, show notes, and let's see your scores go low.